Welcome back to Grow Your Impact, Income, and Influence, the number one show for entrepreneurs looking to reach millions, whether that's millions of people or millions of dollars in your bank account. That's what we are here to help you with. And today's guest is all about connecting from your heart, how to grow your business through conscious connections, through affiliate partnerships that really are synergistic. I hate using the word synergy, but it's all about finding people that really resonate with you, and then how can you partner with them to have your business hit that hockey stick growth and go to the next level. Mark, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic, and I'm still stuck on synergy. Don't you hate it when great words get burned out?
Yes, I do. But I think that's really kind of what this is about. We'll come up with a better term by the end of it, I'm pretty sure.
Sure.
Um, so I mean, you've got several different things going on. You teach people how to affiliate in a way that works really well for them. You also talk about joint venture strategy, like what that looks like for you to build it in your business. You also host a retreat, which is the Soulful Leadership Retreat. You have a lot going on. Where did all of this start for you?
Oh, it's very interesting because, like, if I think about where I became aware of it, I was actually 22 years old. So this is going back over 30 years ago. I was working for Greenpeace International, and a friend of mine brought me into my very first metaphysical bookstore where I read a bumper sticker that changed my life.
Well, that's interesting. Hopefully it wasn't the Forrest Gump shit happens one.
Oh, that's exactly what would pop into mind. I love it that you went there. It was actually something I'm sure you've heard before. Most of your listeners probably have as well, that we're not human beings having spiritual experiences. We're spiritual beings having human experiences. My father had been a minister up until I was 6, and he divorced my mom and got kicked out of the church that he had built. And so he had been on a spiritual quest for a long time. My mom had become very, very Christian and really grew deeper into her faith. And so it was a very interesting dichotomy for me to watch. And so when I was 22, to be able to see this uh, bumper sticker, but it's more than that to me. It was really about a bigger perspective. And so as soon as I read that, I told my dad that I wanted to write a book about the human experience that kind of brought together all of my understandings about spirituality and what we were here for. And I was so excited because he had been written 3 books, and I was going to follow in his footsteps. And instead, he said, "Well, don't expect to make any money writing a book. You have to have a business, not just a book." And at the time, I didn't really understand what that meant. Now I teach that all the time. I understand. But back then, especially being a spiritual book, I was like, well, how do you make money in a spiritual book? So instead of writing the book, I decided to build a business that could fund the book. And a friend of mine who had been following the Grateful Dead, tying string to women's hair and adding beads to the bottom, calling them hair wraps, was at Panama City Beach. And a gentleman came up to him and said, "Hey, my daughter's been waiting for 30 minutes for this hair wrap." And he goes, "I'm sorry, I'm moving as fast as I can." And he said, I see how fast you're moving. You should do this at Disney. He was an executive there. He brought him in. Within 2 years, he had over 20 locations inside of Disney and had made his first $1 million selling hair wraps. And I'm like, if this guy can do it, I can do it. So I started competing against him, selling hair wraps, temporary jewelry, temporary hair tattoos in Orlando, which is where I live, and then in California at a water park, and then in Ohio at an amusement park there called Kings Island, the largest seasonal amusement park. And over 5 years, I had 100 employees around the country, all to fund my vision and my dream of writing this book. And after 5 years, I had no progress. I had not made a single extra word of writing the book because now I'm running a business of all these employees and everything else. And one of the employees in Ohio was 20 years old, working part-time for me, full-time in a geriatric doctor's office. But within months, she was managing not only my payroll, my schedule for my employees, the 50 of them that were there, but my inventory. And she's been managing my life ever since.
It's
We got married about 3 years after that, and it was really her that kind of got me on this track.
Man, there's a lot to unpack in there. I think if we were going to write a new book, I think you could title it like Hair Wraps to Millions to a Human Experience. There's a lot in there. So let's start with maybe the goal of your dad gave you really good advice, right? Don't expect a book to make you a lot of money. You've got to first have something that the book supports. So great advice, but you didn't know what that meant. Did you
Right.
eventually write the metaphysical book? I mean, I know you've got three books, but
Yeah. So the book was supposed to be the human experience, and so I sold my business and went into sales. I figured I could work in sales. So I was working for Time Warner Cable, and figured, okay, within 2 years I'll have the book written, and then I can figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life. 10 years later, after winning every year, I got sent to the Jamaica, the Bahamas, Mexico, because I was one of the top salespeople. And I got very, very comfortable making good money, having great benefits, and didn't realize how fast 10 years went by until my wife was pregnant with twins. And I realized that I only wanted to be there for 2 years. Now I'd been there for 10 years and had written no more of my book. 15 years had gone by and still no progress on my book, but I've been making money, very comfortable. And I realized that if I didn't do something different, I was going to teach my children the deferred lifestyle. You talked about Tim Ferriss earlier in our
yeah,
conversation, and he talks about the deferred lifestyle of putting off your purpose and your passion for safety and security, the illusion of safety and security, because many of the people that I was with in that company, they're not there anymore, and I'm making way more money than I ever made for them. But again, it took 10 years. By the time the kids were born, I had the book finally published. So to answer your question, yes, my wife helped me publish it through CreateSpace. It was an Amazon self-publishing branch that's no longer here, but that's what got me out there. And then she was the one who said, okay, well, now what? You've been waiting 18 years to publish this book. Now what are you going to do? And she suggested life coaching. And I didn't know anybody who had a life coach. I didn't know anybody who was a life coach, certainly. And I'm like, okay, well, what is a life coach and how can I make a living doing this? So we looked up online what the average life coach was making in 2012, and it was under $20,000 a year. And I said, well, that's not going to work. What else can we do? And she said, we looked up the average life coach. You've never been an average salesperson. Why are you looking up the average life coach? So we looked up the top coaches like Tony Robbins and all the others that we're familiar with, and saw that there were lots of them making eight figures and some nine, but seven figures, no problem. And in fact, all of them, many of them, had a promise that if I did exactly what they did, I could make six figures in my first year. And that was the
that's the
first lie that I
promise.
learned.
That is the promise. It is really interesting, right? I mean, Tony doesn't really teach life. He is a life coach, but he doesn't say go start a life coach business. Now he's more in the business, money, health. Like he's written several books to support all of his affiliate offers. I don't know. Tony makes more through affiliates than he makes through his own business. I'm pretty sure.
Oh
Don't
yeah, he has a very, very interesting business model. And again,
yeah,
that's not a model that you want to aspire to because there's very few people that can do what he did. And over
yeah.
the time and all the different pieces, he lost money at the beginning because he was paying his marketers were taking most of the money because they're the ones who drove all the business, but they built the brand and the name. And yeah,
Yep.
now what he does is very, very different. And there's so many different types of coaches. Like I saw that it was mostly the business coaches that were making money. In fact, my very first coach, I decided to get licensed before I quit my job to see if that was something I wanted to do. So I got one of those 90-day coaching certifications. So you can become a coach without any certification. That's one of the challenges. But I wanted to see what it would take. And in the process, I realized, well, my first coach said, well, what's your niche going to be? And I said, I wanted to be a spiritual coach. And he laughed at me and said, well, you're not going to make any money as a spiritual coach. He said, you can pick any niche you want, but it has to be one of these three. You can pick health, wealth,
Yep.
or love. And then you can sneak in spirituality like medicine and the dog food.
That's smart coach. Good coach.
And since then, I realized one, that I had spent thousands of dollars on spiritual coaching. Many of my clients were making six figures as energy workers, spiritual workers, chiropractic, different holistic modalities. And so I chose the money one, but I chose sales and marketing for spiritual entrepreneurs and figuring that they don't know how to sell, they don't know how to market themselves, all of these things. I can start there. And that's
That's
how it kind of began.
that is an excellent place to start. I mean, you picked a niche, money, business,
Mhm.
but then you also picked a sub niche of people who really need that, right? Healers want to help people, but they have a really hard time selling because they think that it's, harmful to people to pay them money, or they have a hard time accepting it. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do in there. The other thing that I want to point out that you talk about quite a bit is using affiliates or joint ventures, basically having your friends do your marketing for you. Tony Robbins did that in the beginning, but he did shift. He still does it, but he does it differently. When he started, it wasn't really a thing. So talk to me a little bit about what you have seen in the co-marketing space.
Well, first of all, a joint venture, for those who aren't familiar, has different meanings in different industries. If you're in the corporate world, it's different than if you're in the entertainment industry. But in the personal development space, it's really anytime two or more companies that are coming together to create a win-win. When somebody promotes and somebody buys, then they get paid for that. It's affiliates. There's lots of different ways to look at it. And primarily, like in our industry, a lot of people look at it as just a Jeff Walker style product launch formula launch. Like that's all that there is to a joint venture is I promote you in your launch, and here's the dates of it, and then you promote me in my big launch, send 3 or 4 emails, sometimes 7 emails, sometimes 14 emails. And that's what some of the bigger players do. They're very specific about, and that's becomes very transactional. Like which one will make me a few $100,000 more than the other, or whatever their metrics might be. And different people have different metrics, and you can pick what values are important to you. But the idea for me of going beyond transactional partnerships into relational partnerships is that we have a shared vision, a long-term shared vision that goes beyond the dollars. The dollars are a byproduct of alignment and action.
That's a good way to put it because I think I do a decent amount of affiliate stuff, and there are people who literally you get on the call or you get the email from them. How big's your list? What's your open rate? What's your click through rate? That's all they care about, right? It's like 4 questions. And while those things are important, what's more
Mhm.
important is, do you get results for your clients? Do you actually show up and serve your clients well? Do your clients have a good experience? And are our values aligned? Um, there are people in the space. I won't call them out directly because maybe your values will align with theirs, but mine don't. And I won't support them, not because I don't like them or not because I wouldn't make money, but because at the end of the day, I don't think that they teach something that I want. There are people who teach ads. I don't use ads. Can ads
Mhm.
work for some people? Sure. Should you maybe be running retargeting? Maybe, but it's way down the list. I'm not going to support somebody that's going to run a launch or even do an email swap with somebody that would do that. How do you think people should align? Maybe this is a good question because you laid out something that is different. I just kind of threw some
Mhm.
rocks at things that
Oh, I
maybe
love
we
it.
don't want to do. How do you suggest people align with other people?
Well, you nailed two of them right off the bat. One of them is we're always looking for a win-win-win, and the first win should always be our audience. How does this person serve my audience? So if you're really an advocate for your audience, you're looking at again, will they deliver? Uh, and how do you know that? By case studies. So you can really find out what somebody's track record is for delivery.
Hmm.
That's to me the biggest thing. And when we're teaching about what you need to be JV ready, I say the first thing you need is an offer that transforms lives and converts. You have to be able to sell it. So if I send people to a webinar, it doesn't matter how good it is. If you can't convert them into your offer, they're never going to get the transformation you promised in the first place. So why send them there in the first place?
That
So
good. I
that's the
agree
first
with
thing. You have
that.
to have an offer. Then you have to have the system, structures, and team to deliver your promise to your customers, but also to your partners. And that goes back to the alignment piece. You talked about values. First, you talked about the client. You want to make sure that the client's getting something out of that. And then the values have to be aligned as well. It's okay to be both transactional. As long as you're both transactional, if you're one of you is really just heart-centered and just trying to make an impact, you need to make money to make an impact. But if the other person is just thinking about how do I get as much money grabbed now and not thinking long term, it creates a wobble. And so you have to have that equal values. And again, as part of a partner, you want to have a reciprocation, some type of platform. An email list is almost not optional. You want to have that, but you also want to have either a podcast, YouTube, a school community, a Facebook community, whatever that is. But someplace, or even a mastermind. We'd love to bring in some of our partners to speak to our high-end clients and just give. They're not there to sell, but the people who connect with them, obviously, those are ideal clients.
Yeah, I mean, all of those are great. So I want to kind of recap because I think there's two things that I've seen where they go wrong, um, outside of values specifically. The first one is there are a lot of great people out there who say, yeah, promo me. I get emails almost every day. I bet you do too. Hey, promo me. I'd love to be promoted. And my first question is, what are we sending people to? And I sometimes, more often than not, you'd be surprised. I don't have a lead magnet set up. I don't have a webinar yet, but I'm building one. But can you send people to me? Well, what do you want me to do? Send them to a discovery call. That's probably one of the worst things that you can possibly send people to because it's cold audience. Even if they trust me, they're probably not going to get on a discovery call. That is not a good lead magnet or a good first step. The second thing is you say, well, how do we know that we're tracking, right? And Go High Level now has an affiliate manager built into it, thank goodness. Before that, you use Thrivecart, but you'd be surprised how many people say, "Oh, I'll just track it. I'll build you a custom link."
But right. Or no, we ask everybody when they sign up who referred them. We'll
Yeah.
make sure you get paid because we'll ask them.
So that's, I mean,
That's
I
the
want,
system structures and team part that I was talking about. And you have to
yeah,
be able to track not only for your client, but also for your partner so that you know where people came from. And so having it, like you said, a lead magnet, having a funnel, having a basic system that where I know I'm not sending somebody directly to a paid thing, because it doesn't even matter if it's a $97 thing. I don't want to send any traffic to a paid thing. You want to send them to a free webinar, a free lead magnet, some
absolutely.
experience so they can taste it.
Yeah, and like I can send traffic to Mark, right? My list knows, likes, and trusts me. They're going to go to something free. They'll go to a free training. They'll read a book. They'll read a PDF, anything like that. But if I immediately send to a paid anything from email, the chances of the conversion, if we convert at 0.5% and I have a 10,000 person list, 10,000 people, 30% open rate, that means 3,000 people opened. That means 1.5% would buy, 1.5 people. That does not do either of us any good because Mark can't then get to know them, build a relationship, and actually make them a good offer because nobody opted into his list. One person bought. So he made 97 bucks. I made $30. Woohoo. I'll
And you
enjoy
had five
getting
people that just dropped off your list because they didn't even understand what you were promoting.
right. Exactly. So we're laying this out. Let's go a little bit deeper with the systems and team because I think people hear two words there, systems, and they're like, I don't have a system. And the second
Right.
word is team.
Yeah,
ChatGPT might be their go-to team. So
yeah.
what do they really need to make this work?
And when I say team, there's two pieces of it. I kind of look at it like the hemispheres of a brain, except those are left and right. I look at it the top and the bottom hemispheres, where you want to have the advice and the guidance. And yes, you could go to ChatGPT and get all of the information you want, and it'll probably tell you how brilliant you are for asking. But you really want people that are going to challenge you, but that are aligned with you. So you want to have really good mentors, coaches, be part of a mastermind, whatever that is, that really is aligned and has success that you're basing it on. And then you need something that is the delivery part of where the rubber meets the road. And I remember my first coach saying that if I did not have a VA, then I was the VA. I'm very blessed that my wife is self-taught at technology, loves all of that stuff. And so she's always been that person, and that person not just for me, but for many of our clients. But most people don't have that. And even knowing what to outsource can be a challenge. And ideally, first you want to do the things that can help generate revenue. But that's a whole process of figuring out what to outsource. But I think it's really important to know what you're really good at, what really needs to be done, and what are the things that you can get to the right people. Because you can't outsource something that you don't know anything about because they might not know anything about it either, and you don't know how to guide them.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably do a whole separate podcast on VAs. I know I've done several. I want to kind of reel this back to build a lead magnet.
Hmm.
Pretty much any email provider that you use nowadays, whether it's ConvertKit or MailChimp or any of them out there, if you go high level, you can build a lead magnet funnel. That should not, you don't need a team for that. Yes, you might need a team once your calendar gets going, but like I'm not a go high level person necessarily, but go high level also has a calendar schedule. You can go to Acuity and get something for 10 bucks a month. Like those things exist. I want to give you and maybe this is a softball question, but
Okay.
what I hear a lot from people is, well, I've asked people to JV with me and they say my list isn't big enough or it's not the right time. I only work with partners that have lists of X size. You're a great salesperson. I bet when you got started, you had to go out and knock on some doors and find some people to promote you. How should people find JV partners if maybe they have a list of 1,500 or 2,000? How should they go about doing this?
Well, going back to again, one of the things you said at the beginning is have a very clear path for partners to promote. Make it as easy for partners to promote, know what they're going to promote. And JVs in our world are a game of I'll go first. So you talked before about you get all these emails about, hey, can you do this for me? If you got an email from me saying, and you did it for me, you sent me an email saying, hey, I'd love to promote you. I'd love to have you on my show. You didn't say, hey, can you promote my podcast? And that just, when you hear all these, can you, when you hear somebody saying, can I, it stands out. So that's one of the things that you can do is like, what can you do for partners? And there's three things most partners want. They want more visibility. And the reason they want more visibility is because they want more sales. So they can help them with visibility that lead to sales, or whatever your, what I call your magic, your golden hammer, your skills. If you're somebody who's really good at LinkedIn or at YouTube and or marketing funnels, whatever it is, if you can give them an audit and say, hey, here's ways that I can help save money, or here's how I can make things easier for you, they say, "Oh my gosh, my community would love this. Come and share that with my mastermind, or let me do an interview with you, or whatever." Or do you have a lead magnet? But one of the things I always suggest is it doesn't matter how big the partner is, or even if you're reaching out to somebody that's maybe has a smaller list, it's like dating. So test out how the relationship goes, and you can do simple things like a lead magnet swap. Say, hey, I'll post your lead magnet on my Facebook 3 times in a week, and you post my lead magnet on your Facebook 3 times in a week. You're not expecting a huge volume of opt-ins or people doing it, but it's one, getting your community familiar with each other, and two, seeing how you respond to it, how you communicate. Do you follow through? And because the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So you can, just like a relationship, before you say, hey, let's get engaged, you say, let's go out to dinner and see how the dinner goes before you see what the next date is going to be.
Yeah. I mean, that is great advice. One of the things that I always look for in partners that I wish somebody would have told me up front is, do they do what they say they're going to do? I run a lot of summits. One of the things that we do for people behind the scenes is we'll run summits to help fill events. And you will, out of 35 speakers, roughly one third will promote the crap out of something. Like they'll do what they said. They'll send 3 to 5 emails. They'll post a couple times on social. Then about, I would say the large chunk in the middle, probably 70%, promotes a little bit. Like they probably send one email, they put it in a PS, they do a post somewhere. And then there's like 20% that don't promote at all. We just ran one last week that was like people were like down here on the bottom. And it's like you can follow up with people, you can tap them on the shoulder, but if people don't promote, they don't promote. And it's like who does what they say they're going to do? Because that's one of the biggest things with affiliates. I'm trusting you and I'm going to do what I said. I'm going to put your stuff out. And it's like doing those small things in the beginning to see where people work is can be very, very helpful to stop you from making a commitment. But I think in the beginning, going back to people that are getting started, because that's where this really started,
Yeah.
is go out and go first. I love that you said that because that is if you go to somebody and you say, "Hey, how can I support you? I have a small list, but I'd love to send your stuff out. I'd love to promo you. I'd love to do an interview with you."
And even if you don't have a podcast, doing an interview is really easy because you can go on a Facebook Live.
Yeah.
And if you're really close to somebody, if you meet somebody on a networking event or something, you can just say, hey, why don't I do a Facebook Live with you? And then you do a Facebook Live interview of me. That's a really nice, easy swap.
It's super easy and people will be so like they're grateful for it, right? Because it grows visibility, it gets them out there. And that's you can start. And the thing is that there's everybody says like I want to be an overnight success. I want success tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. I've been in business. I started my business in 2012 as well. It sounds like we were probably on similar time frames there, but it's like
Yeah.
a little bit of growth each day, a little bit of forward momentum. You find the people that you can partner with, you hold an event here, you do this there. Before you know it, you have something that is worthwhile, but it doesn't happen overnight. And you might not get the huge people to support you right away, but you will down the road, especially if you're consistent. Back when my list was like 3,000, I wasn't super consistent necessarily. Or sorry, I was very consistent. I wasn't putting down huge numbers for people, but people knew I was consistent and they knew that I would email. If I said I was going to email 7 times for them, I was going to email 7 times. And I actually got on a few leaderboards of people that had much bigger lists, but I beat them because I was consistent. And I had people that came to me and said, "Hey, we'd love for you to promote next time. What's that look like? Here are dates." And that's how you start to build that. Um, I
That
want
is
to
a great way. That's a really, really powerful tool. Is like I said, when you go first, if you can go all out for somebody and show up on leaderboards, a friend of ours, one of our clients, Michael Neely, did that with Jeff Walker, where they announced him, and then they did it with an Alex Hermosi. He was picked as one of the top 5 people. You get seen by a lot of affiliates, and all of a sudden, everybody wants to partner with you like that. Another real important thing is alignment. A really simple thing. When I very first, when I started, I think I had 350 people on my list, and was doing my second telesummit, and invited Natalie Ledwell from Mind Movies, where they had 900,000 subscribers, and she said,
Yep.
"Well, I can't send it to everybody in Mind Movies. Glenn does takes care of that, but I have my own list of about 40,000. I'd be happy to send it out to that." She didn't do it thinking, "Oh, and then you have to mail to your 350 people." It was because we were aligned in our vision. She loved, what I was doing and who I was being. And so a lot of times that's enough. So the way that you show up will attract the right clients. And it's all about building relationship capital.
100%. If you go first, eventually you will find somebody. I had the same thing. I had a couple people that had larger lists that saw that I was out doing stuff and they said, "Hey, we'll be happy. We can't do a full sequence for you, but we can send one email for you, or we can do this over here." And
Yeah.
that's all it takes. And if you keep doing that and you keep showing up, it will keep happening. I want to shift gears a little bit. You have a retreat coming up. It's more of like an event than a retreat, but it's called a retreat. Um, and it's all about finding people that can joint venture with you, that can support you, people that are aligned with the vision. I just want to throw you the ball and let you talk about it a little bit, and we'll unplug that and kind of work through it.
Yeah. So it is a collaboration is a byproduct that comes through there. Uh, the very first year that we ever hosted the Soulful Leadership Retreat was in 2020 in Orlando. And one of the people that attended that event is now our partner, David Ricklin, where he first attended the Soulful Leadership Retreat and then joined our mastermind that we launched from that event. And then at the end of that year, we launched the JV Directory, which is really specifically focused on creating joint ventures. And it's a much bigger umbrella. We have 1,500 members there, where the Soulful Leadership Retreat, we have 200 people that were there, 190 that were there last year. And it's really more about the leadership aspect. And when we talk about soulful, it's not a religious event in any way. It's really about recognizing that we are spiritual beings having human experiences, and being able to lead with soul. Earlier, I talked about the 3 niches, and that you can sneak in spirituality in the dog food. Our first anthology book was called Soulful Leadership, A Spiritual Path to Health, Wealth, and Love. And it was named that because I believe that when you lead with soul, the health, wealth, and love follow. So this event was curated and helped really design it by my mentor, Alan Davidson, who named me the Soul Connector because he said, I connect people to who they are at soul level, I connect them to their soul purpose, and I connect them to their soul tribe, which is the perfect customers, the people that are you're here to serve, your dream team that's here to support you, and your affiliate ambassadors, the influencers like you who are here to help spread the word. And so that was the original design. We're on our 7th year now of the Soulful Leadership Retreat. And rather than having one day for each of those different pillars, we really integrate it throughout. And it's rather than being like a conference, the reason we called it a retreat was because we really want it to be more communal leadership than guru centric. It's not about the person on the stage. Each segment is really setting up a conversation so that each of the tables can have little mini masterminds. Then we bring the wisdom to the room, and we do have a partner palooza on the first night where we'll have little breakouts and doing networking, but it's very intentional. Again, about sharing from who we are. One of our first speakers is Rachel Jane Groover, who talks about getting out from our head space and into our heart space so that when we communicate, again, we're looking at building relationships, not just transactions.
Awesome. Um, I love live events. I mean, that is my background. That's what I help people do. I think that it's so transformative, and I like your live event, the way you're talking about it, because it's being in the room with people is where you really get to know what other people are like. And having somebody open the event with getting out of your head, where we're all logic based and we can all be like, oh, numbers, numbers, numbers. Like, what are you like? Getting into our hearts and connecting with the people that are there, because at the end of the day, those are the people that are going to help you grow your business, right? Finding people that will actually support, that maybe have a bigger list than you, that will email or will put you on social, will do something to help you spread your message, and you're going to do the same thing. That's who you're attracting to come to your event. Who else do you have speaking?
Well, it's funny, just off the top of my head, I was just thinking about the last two events that you managed. The hosts are both going to be there. Christy Rufino will be one of our guests, not a speaker, but and then Jennifer Deep Stratton was a speaker last year and will probably be a speaker again this year. We're still working that out, but it's an important element for us. If you're not fully JV ready, the main thing is usually, like I said at first, the offer. Like, do you have a really clear, powerful offer that will do what it says it's going to do? So those are some of the speakers. We also have Jay Fairbrother, because a big part of what we do is mastermind. We run a mastermind. We've been running that since 2011, different masterminds. And I believe that everybody should run events and everybody should have masterminds. So we have people there teaching it and showing it. This will actually, secretly, this is the last year of the Soulful Leadership Retreat because moving forward, it's going to be the Soulful Leadership Experience.
Oh,
Really
okay.
what we're making this out to be is we want it to be an experience of what it's like to be a part of our community.
That's awesome. That is, I mean, that is really what live events are about. And I don't think it's any secret at this point that most live events sell a mastermind. And the reason that you should go to a live event is to see what the person that's running it is like, what their community is like. And yes, Zoom is nice to do a virtual event, blah, blah, blah. You can do breakout rooms, you can sit on camera, but going to a live event really makes the difference because being in the room is where you meet people. And there are some people that look great on paper, but when you meet them in person, like something just doesn't quite click. And then the other way, a lot of people don't look great on LinkedIn or on paper because maybe that's not how they connect best. But you meet them in person and you realize that they're awesome. And they usually have a great community behind them that you might never see online. So going to an event, definitely worth doing. We'll put some links down below. If you're listening to this, check the show notes. We'll have links to it for you. Um, Anything else about the event? If people were debating whether or not to go, you talked a little bit about offer, which is huge, building a great offer. What's one other outcome that they would get from the event?
Well, again, a lot of it is about alignment and peeling back who we really are. A lot of people that I know in our industry are running into some frustrations around being able to scale with ease. A lot of it is about projected demands of what our businesses should look like, and uh, people are changing the way that they're building their businesses. And I think that that's a big part of it is one, having the permission, and two, having other working models out there where people are still growing, but they're growing in a way that doesn't have to feel like doing more.
That's, I mean, growing, you're always going to do work, but scaling in a way that feels good to you doesn't mean that you have to put more hours on your calendar. It doesn't mean you have to take more meetings necessarily. It does mean that you have to have systems and team in place, which is something we talked about a little bit earlier. I'm sure we'll talk about that some at the retreat.
Yes, for
So,
sure.
awesome. Mark, I want to say thank you for coming on and sharing. We are putting notes to the Soulful Retreat down below. Anything else that you would like to share with our guests before we wrap this up?
Yeah, one of the things that we'll do at the retreat is we actually have the assessment, a soulful leadership assessment. I also have that on my website, markporteous.com, which we'll have in the notes, but anybody can take the assessment. But that's one of the things that I really enjoy about it is that we get to see where everybody in the room is. And so with the 150 to 200 people in the room, we'll have 40 or 50 people that join our mastermind, but we want to make sure everybody gets value out of it, no matter where you are on that journey. And so having lasting, ongoing community and value of it, whether or not, like you said, you join any program, it's not pitchy. We really want it to be about community and ongoing relationships. So even if you're just coming for the experience, it'll be a lasting one.
I mean, all of my closest friends and most of the people that have supported my business, I've met at a live event. So I can definitely second that you should check it out. Everybody I know that has gone has said it's been great. So definitely click the links down below. Mark, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate this. It's been great to meet you. And again, I appreciate you reaching out to say, hey, what can I do for you? And being a part of the two events that you just hosted was exceptional. I saw the way that you were showing up, and I'm really grateful to be connected.
Awesome. To everybody else out there, we will see you next time on Grow Your Impact, Income, and Influence. Have an amazing day.